Honorable Men Discord. Cameron describes a moment when J. Cole didn't keep his word. Let's talk about it.
How you see yourself is how you perceived. I see a man strong, gifted, head strapping, never down on his knees, begging. Gotta make a way, even in my darkest hour. Say the odds against me was new. I would never cower.
As always, welcome back to another episode. If you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Tell a friend to tell a friend. I drop episodes daily at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. So let's get straight to it. First and foremost, happy Super Bowl Sunday. And I'm going to be straightforward. I do not want to see the New England Patriots win because I'm a Giants fan and they will forever be rivals of the Giants. Now, with that being said, let's get into the episode. So, Cameron describes a moment when J. Cole didn't keep his word. And I'm going to go straight to this video and I'm going to speak about my thoughts on this right after because this is something that hits home. I really don't like when people operate like this. But let's get straight into this video and I'll talk about it further.
Then he says, okay, when's the project coming out? When's you going to get it? I said, I don't know when the project I just need a verse. Because this project, the last project I did for him, let's just say it was June. It's supposed to come out November. It didn't come out till the next November. So he was sitting on the verse for like a year and a half, which it was, to me, old at the time. And I'm saying, that shit is outdated. But he called me one night like, yo, I'm just letting you know Monday I'm putting that song out. And I'm like, all right, cool, no problem, it's all good. I need a verse. Well, I'm exaggerating, but he's like the shock rain right now. And, the moon got aligned with the stars. And, when I write, I put my all into it. Okay, let's put your all into it then. You know what I'm saying?
Give me that
He
verse.
called me twice to do something, and I did it. One day you have 48 hours to do it. Then I knocked the other thing out as soon as I came to New York, because you ain't want to send me a record. You want to be in the studio with me. I knocked it out. Cool, you don't give me the record, which is fine. Then I said, you know what? Forget the record. Let's do an interview. Bet I got you. I got a project coming out in June. Let's do it around there. Cool, I'll do the problem. And mind you, the months I'm saying may not be accurate for the months. Cool, June is coming. Oh, we pushed the album back. I don't want to just do an interview. All right, cool. Now we're going to do it in October. All right, I'll call you back in October. Yo, what's up? Oh, man, Keller, you say I tell you October, you call October, huh, nigga? Yeah, nigga. Yeah. Nah, I can't do it because, this is when all the beef is going on with Kendrick Lamar. I can't do it now because the shit is going on with Kendrick Lamar and all that, and I don't feel like talking about that right now. I said, look, I'll do the interview. I won't even bring that up. I won't even talk about that. He says, nah, I can't do no interview and not talk about it. We got to talk about it.
Oh, no.
I said, all right, well, when can I get the interview? Yo, February, definite. February, I'm dead ass on February. We going to get it done in February. All right, cool. February come. Yo, what's up? Oh, shit. Yo, I'm still working, man. First, I said, I want a verse. Then he says, okay, when's the project coming out? When's you going to get it? I said, I don't know.
All right. I think the moral to this is just be a man of your word. Even if you say one thing and then you had to change your heart, just be very direct. I think that's the correct term to use. Just be direct. Don't do the roundabout, coming up with excuses. It's exhausting. I mean, to be honest with you, Cameron must have a lot of respect for J. Cole. He must really value what J. Cole brings to the table, because I would have been done a long time ago. And with that being said, I'm going to share a story and try to be as vague as possible. Why? Because I'm not trying to talk badly about a person, although I feel they did the same thing J. Cole did to Cameron. But I'm not here to talk badly about someone. That's not what I like. That's not what I'm here for. So with that being said, there was a point in time where I came across this gentleman that is in a respectable position, and through some talking, he told me his life story. and I thought it was an incredible story. And for that reason, I decided to tell him about the fact that I have a channel. And at that point in time, he started telling me about other people that he knew that might be good for doing an interview. And I said, yeah, those people sound, well, he told me about a person, this one person. It's actually an actor. And I don't remember the gentleman's name, but he was on, I think, New York Undercover. The black actor from New York Undercover. I'll get to that. But that's not where I'm going with this. So he was trying to tell me about that actor from New York Undercover because he knew him from childhood. So I said, oh, that's cool and all. I said, but I'm not trying to reach out to anyone that knows me from nothing, And I said, and besides that, I said, your story. I'm talking to the gentleman. I said, your story is an interesting story, and I'd like to showcase that on my channel. And I told him, which I tell a lot of people, the same spiel, I think that's how they say it. I tell people the same lines, if you will, about my channel, and that because I like to be straightforward, because many times they want to take a look at the channel and they're like, oh, what exactly do you talk about in your channel? And I tell them I talk about trending topics and stuff like that. I said, right now, I discuss trending topics in the entertainment realm. I said, but I like to elevate the talks, especially when it's from gentlemen in particular positions that are respectable and could really open the minds of the viewers of how certain individuals that we may feel are out of reach operate. I find it to be fascinating. So with that being said, I told him, yeah, right now I do trending topics about things within the entertainment field or whatever pops up that's trending. I said, but interviewing you is at the core of what I'm really trying to do. I want to expose, not in a bad way, but I want to bring light. That's a better way of saying it. I'd like to bring light to men in different positions where the average person would think, oh, those type of men would never have a sit down or would never share their story with us because they feel like those men feel like they're better than the rest of us. So with that being said, he was a little bit hesitant, but then he agreed to it, right? But once you agree to it, I will follow up because I believe, being that I have a channel, it's in my best interest to follow up if I really in fact want the interview. I can't expect someone to just necessarily follow up with me. I'm the one who's asking for the favor, if you will. So I followed up with him, and he was consistent with saying he'll do it. He's like, right now is not the best time. And then at one point, he even gave me his business card because then he no longer worked where I work. And I said, oh, cool, okay. I thought that was solid because I was like, oh, you didn't have to double back and make sure you got me the business card. So once he left the place that I'm working at, I followed up with him. He picked up the line, solid, he kept it consistent. And he said, I'm getting settled into this new thing. And once I get settled in, he gave me a day of the week. He said, you can call me on, let's say, a Monday, and we'll square things away and figure out when we're going to do this. And I did so. When I did that, something came up and he had to go out of town. And he said, when I get back in town, we'll reconvene. And again, I could somewhat understand why Cameron continued to entertain J. Cole, because I continued to entertain this gentleman because I know he's a busy man based on his position, and he didn't say otherwise. And up until all these times when he kept delaying on and things coming up and things of that nature, based on the story that I heard from him, he's a man who says what he says what he says, and he means what he says. He's a stand-up man. So I'm not thinking I'm getting finessed. All right. So he said when he gets back from whatever business dealing he has, we could reconvene. And I'm patient because I said, listen, this would be an interview worth having to elevate the content on my channel. So I was patient, right? Again, this gentleman was going to do me a favor. I'm asking him for a favor. He doesn't have to sit down on my platform and tell his story. That's doing me a huge favor, and I understand that. So with that being said, he came back from the business trip, and it got to a point where he gave me a specific day, right? Because I tried to lock it in. I said, okay, this weekend I'm off. You said the weekends is good. I said, how's Sunday? He said, Sunday seems good, right? He said, Sunday should be fine. I reached out to him on the Sunday. He's like, I'm with my daughter. He's like, give me a few. I'm going to call you a little later. So I gave him a few, and I didn't want to be inconsiderate of the fact that he was with his daughter. Now, his daughter isn't a toddler. Let me just make that clear whilst I'm telling the story. His daughter is a college student. And that doesn't mean that he's not entitled to his time with his daughter. I just have to put that out there before you think when I'm telling the story, oh, he's with his toddler. He was with a college student. So I gave him time, but it started to get late in the evening. And let me say another thing. The reason why I had to reach out to him is because I was trying to lock in a studio with him. All right, which means I had to lock the time in. I had to pay money to lock in the time, but I couldn't do so without knowing when he would exactly be free from spending time with his daughter. And a few hours had passed and I didn't hear back from him. So I followed up with him. And when I called him, he went from that he would call me later to he never called me. So I had to follow up with him. And then it turned into, we're going to need to rain check this. Today's not a good day. And that's after him saying on the Friday that Sunday was good. Then Sunday came and I'm with my daughter, give me a few. As a matter of fact, let me just add on to that. Not only did he say, give me a few, he actually gave me a time. He said, I think around 1 o'clock would be good. So then when I followed up around 1, he said he was going to call me around 1, if I'm not mistaken. He never called me around 1, so I called him. And then he was like, today's not a good day. We're going to have to rain check that. But based on everything prior to that, I decided not to rain check it. I decided not to follow up at that point because if you really want to do it, you would lock in. As a matter of fact, that same day, being that I thought we were locked in, I created a thumbnail and I sent it to him. I said, what's your thoughts on the thumbnail? I said, I'd like to get his corroboration with the thumbnail. I'm not going to just make a thumbnail. And if he didn't like it, if he didn't like how it represented him, I wouldn't have used it. So I sent him the thumbnail. I said, what's your thoughts on it? And from there it was just downhill. It was almost like he started to decide he didn't want to do it, but he was never straightforward in saying, I don't want to do it. And I could only imagine and only assume that it's possible maybe he spoke to his daughter about it, and his daughter was like, I don't think you should do that. But here's the thing, and this is what I want to really say about this. I know I went a roundabout, long way of telling the story, but there was only one way to tell it. I wouldn't be upset if he just said, you know what, I looked over your page and I thought about it, and I really don't want to put my story out there like that, at least not now. I could respect that, because from man to man, if he didn't want to do it, he didn't have to do it. And you have to respect someone that's straightforward. It's not manly to be overly emotional about someone telling you exactly what they want to do, because no one has to do anything for you. And I think we all know that as men. At least we should know that as men. No one owes you anything. It's a dog-eat-dog world out there. That's another old saying, right? And no one owes you anything. So if I ask someone for an interview and they say yes, it's okay if they turn around and say they don't want to do it. But one thing I'm asking other men to do, respectfully, is be direct. If you change your mind, tell me you changed your mind. You don't even have to elaborate as to why you changed your mind, but don't string it along where I think I'm going to be locking in the interview and then I'm just wasting time. Let's not waste each other's time. I wouldn't waste any man's time, and I wouldn't want another man to waste my time. So Cameron, I completely understand. And even with Cameron telling the story, Cameron usually ends up somewhat making matters comical. But you can tell he still, even despite J. Cole not keeping his word, he still has a respect for J. Cole, because he didn't slander J. Cole. He just told his story about how he basically got finessed by J. Cole and how he was disappointed in J. Cole not keeping his word. And so for all of you watching this episode, just try to be a man of your word. Do your best to be a man of your word. If you don't want to do something, don't make someone feel as though you might actually entertain something they ask of you when you know you don't want to do it. Just be straightforward and say, listen, I'm not interested. I'm going to leave you with one last quick story. A gentleman I know from my old neighborhood wanted to get in the studio. And to be honest with you, I wasn't really thinking about getting in the studio at the time when he spoke about going into the studio. But because I have a respect for him, he has a respect for me, I told him I would go to the studio if that's something he wanted to do. He then at some point in time started mentioning other people from the neighborhood that I don't necessarily care to sit down with. And I immediately told him, I said, listen, if it's you and I going in the studio for a studio session, I'm down. I said, but anyone else, I don't really care to be in the studio with anybody else, respectfully. I told him like that. And the reason why I'm sharing that story is because you have to be straightforward, gentlemen. You have to be straightforward. Everyone's time is precious and valuable, and you can't allow someone to play with your time and you don't want to play with anyone else's time. So if in a situation like I just mentioned, if you don't want to be in a studio with other people because you just may not click with them, the energy might be off, don't entertain it. And that also goes into just in general, when you're spending time with friends, if your friends are bringing other people to that event that you don't really care for, and you know a little bit about those individuals and their energy doesn't click with yours, back out of it. All right? Back out of it. Because sometimes it's those type of events and situations where you get caught up and then you regret it at the end. You say to yourself, why did I even go when I knew so-and-so was going? Now, that's when you are aware of situations and who's going to be showing up. But, there's times where you might be telling one of your friends, hey, what we doing today? And they make it seem like it's only going to be X, Y, Z. And then you find out that other people are going aside from X, Y, Z. Those things you can't control. But for the most part, if you know exactly what's going down and you're not feeling it, don't entertain it. Just be a man of your word. So that's the takeaway for this episode. Be a man of your word, always. Not even sometimes, always. But that's all I have on this episode. As always, I appreciate everyone for tuning in. If you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, tell a friend to tell a friend. I drop episodes daily at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, enjoy your Super Bowl Sunday. I hope the Patriots lose this game. I'm not lying. I hope they lose this game. And that's no hate towards Cardi B or her, how am I forgetting this guy's name? Diggs. No shot at Diggs. No shot at Diggs. No shot at Cardi. But I'm not with New England Patriots winning. I'm a Giants fan. Sorry, but not sorry. But listen, as always, stay honorable.